I think this season we've just shown really that we belong in this Premier League.
It's mad when we've beaten Man United 4-0, we're not saying that that's how good this year's been, isn't it? Welcome to the pre-match pint with London Pride. We're back at the Fuller's Brewery Shop in Chiswick. Bees fans, get down here for 10% off. And after a long time, I'm reunited with Natalie, Sawyer and Marcus Gayle. Good to see you both. It's been a long time. Well, I see you pretty much every day and that, so we're pretending Happy New Year. Saw you last week. But good to see you, Natalie. How was guitar?
It was lovely, thank you. For a World Cup experience, it was brilliant. Yeah, really
excellent. A little cheers to Anna McCormack, whose birthday it was, of course, this week. So much to talk about because it's been a long time. Tomorrow against Bournemouth, it will be officially the halfway stage in the season, although of course we've not played Southampton yet. So I thought we'd have a little look at the season so far. Marcus, what would be your assessment of the first half of the campaign?
Definitely improved from last season. When you look at the points tallies, the amount of goals we've scored as well, and the general sort of improvement of the whole squad, feeling settled at the Premier League level. Dealing with it, the results of late we've had as well has really put us in that good position at this stage of the season, and so yeah, very satisfactory, I would say.
Very satisfactory. If you're going to give it a grade?
Grade?
Yeah.
I'm going to leave that to you. You're the school teacher out of us.
Natalie, how about yourself? How do you look at the season so far?
Gosh, I mean, it's just been incredible, I think. Second season syndrome, what's that?
Exactly.
I think we're just enjoying ourselves, aren't we? That being said, there's the caveat of thinking we're not safe yet and we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but wow, I've just enjoyed it so much, and to sort of be making headlines like we have been doing with some of our results, it's just been wonderful to be able to walk into the TalkSport offices like this and be thinking, yeah, and they've not been lucky results either. They've been well-deserved wins over, some of the traditional Big Six sides. So, yeah, I would say if I was going to mark it right now, I'd be saying a strong B+.
Strong B+. And you mentioned there walking into TalkSport after a win or a positive result. It feels like this year, I know last year we got a lot of plaudits from people in the media and fans around the country. Have you noticed maybe more so this year, Natalie, your colleagues kind of not taking more of an interest, but kind of really seeing it in a deeper level of how well we've done this year?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, to be fair, even last season, a lot of them were saying, you've really taken to life in the Premier League. I think this season we've just shown really that we belong in this Premier League. And a lot of them would say the same. But when you're making these having these incredible results, you can't help as a neutral to stand up and take note of what Brentford are doing, and doing it with a majority of players that came up with us from the Championship as well, let's not forget. So this is just an incredible season, and I hope it just continues to be incredible and we can all use our passports next season.
Well, I'm going to get on to that. First of all, who's the biggest closet B at TalkSport, would you say?
Oh gosh. I don't know if there would be a necessary closet B, but I work with Tony Cascarino, and he always talks glowingly about Brentford and what Thomas Frank, and he's been saying Thomas Frank should have been the Chelsea boss, for example, over Graham Potter, for example, which I'm glad he's not. We'd love the fact that Thomas has stayed with us, but just Tony, Cass as I call him, he really does big up what Brentford do and has been doing it for a long time. He's always talked about the way that we recruit and just even the style of football that we implement. So I don't want to say he's a closet Bees fan, but he does big us up a lot.
Love that. Well, look, Natalie mentioned passports there, and I don't want to be a killjoy because, look, at West Ham away, I was singing it as well. We were all going on a European tour. We've all been singing it.
That's your fault.
No, look, the fan in me gets carried away, but we know what Thomas is like, we know what football's like. Surely it's still got to be, I don't want to put the brakes on here and kill the mood. We have to think one game at a time, right, Ambassador, and there's still a lot of football to be played. And we know what the Premier League's like, right? You can go on these runs, we've seen West Ham lately, I'm sure we won't, but am I okay to be saying this, or should we be, getting the passports out?
Not just yet.
Right.
That's what I would say. I'm sure the players will feel the same as well. Is that it is one game at a time. It's an old cliche, but it's actually true. And you can't look too far ahead apart from the very next game. A tough game that we have with Bournemouth. And people may think Bournemouth are lower down, we should probably easily beat them. It's not going to work like that. We have to actually go out there, perform as we know we can. And what we've shown so far this season, we have definitely improved from last year. And hopefully we can just carry on with this momentum, because the set of games coming up There's going to be some in there that you think, yeah, we should be able to pick up points from here. But they're the tough parts of the season for us that we have to manage well.
Well, we've just come off a really tough run of fixtures, I guess, and then the natural thing is you look at the next run, but we know that, again, the boys just look one ahead. What I want to ask you is, with Wimbledon, you had seasons where you finished, like, we're inside the top 10 now. I remember there's a couple of years where you guys finished top half of the table. What was going through your mindset in those years? Because, again, a lot of the time you were, I guess, make sure we stay in the league, right? So at what point were you going, right now we can maybe put a little run together for maybe Europe or something?
I don't think we could. To be honest, I don't think that was ever in the mindset. It was always about staying in the Premier League and what it meant to everybody, the players in particular. But no, there weren't no sort of, I think even in the sort of best seasons that the club had when I was there, I think we finished 8th. And there still wasn't talk about going to Europe or anything, or pushing for the next season. It was always keep realistic. This is a club that's going to hopefully stay in the Premier League and just compete. But
is there an element of that with us then? Because again, I sound like I'm putting a down on everything here, but because I want to get excited about Europe, but don't get me wrong.
You have to be measured though as well.
Exactly. Like I think there's a case of gradual growth. Do you see what I mean? And like, look, if we get Europe, I'll be the first in Milan, Sofia,
singing the song.
Yeah, you know, I'll be there in the plazas, a couple of non-alcoholic prides.
You've got to keep your shirt on though.
I'll keep my shirt on for that one, not like Fulham away. Anyway, but I'll be there. I don't know, I'll be buzzing for it, and I hope it happens. But at the same time, another year of stability in the Premier League would be an amazing achievement this year, right?
Oh, absolutely, and that's why I mentioned that second season syndrome that everybody talks about. That you might want to. Actually, if you examine it, it might be more of a myth than it really is a thing. But I think you're absolutely right. Just to be stable and to prove that we are a team that's able to compete in this league and not, you know, to finish mid-table would be an incredible achievement for us. For yet again our only second season ever in the Premier League. So. Listen, I'm with you. If we can go on a European trip and Fuller's want to pay for us to go, which would be lovely.
We will behave out there. We will behave.
Then we will happily go on that trip. But equally, I would be just as happy to just have another season to look forward to in the Premier League.
Right. Carrying on the school report theme, who has been each of your player of the season so far? Marcus, Gayle, throw this to you first.
That's tough.
I'm well impressed with Ben Mee. I think the way he's come in and just got on with his job and done more than his job, really.
Best free transfer we've ever had?
I would say so, yeah. I love when the crowd sing his name, especially as a centre-back. You don't really get
it's not really a song, but
centre-backs, but you know, they acknowledge his performances, his impact. He scored a few goals as well. And you know, when the game gets a bit sticky, you know, he's one of them defenders that's going to throw his body on the line and block with anything possible. And so, yeah, I would give him.
And Ben Mee. Natalie?
That's a very good shout though with Ben Mee. He has been absolutely brilliant. I think it's really difficult because there's been so many that have just stood out in the areas that they're in. So, you know, obviously Ivan Toney already scoring the same amount of goals that he scored last season in the Premier League obviously is a massive thing for him to have done that already. I think Rico Henry is always just brilliant, always ever consistent, had Mo Salah in his pocket throughout that whole Liverpool match. I think Mo Salah was frightened to even try and go past him. You'd see him go backwards a lot. I think Matthias Jensen deserves a lot of credit because he has been someone that's come in for a lot of stick at times from Bees fans, but I think he's just been quite consistent. I think there are loads of players you can pick out. It's really difficult. I mean, I do think Ben Mee is probably worth a shout right now just because some of those last minute sort of clearances and blocks that he's had in the Leicester game, the Liverpool game as well, you know, he's been absolutely brilliant.
So you're going Ben Mee as well?
I just don't want to say because I think they all deserve it.
There's a few in that list.
Yeah, I mean, I might go with Ivan Toney just because I think it's incredible to have already scored the amount of goals.
I'll go with Matthias Jensen then. I think he's been absolutely phenomenal. But special shout as well for David Raya, I think, as well. And Brian Mbeumo's already scored the amount of goals he scored last year. We'll just say everyone, shall we? You've all been brilliant. Well done if you watch. What's been your favourite game so far?
For me, it's got to be the Man City away.
Yeah.
That game was just crazy, especially after the back of a loss against Gillingham in the Cup. And people were feeling down and miserable, and then
it's mad when we've beaten Man United 4-0. We're not saying that's how good this year's been.
It's just crazy.
But I think to go to City and awful as it is, most of us go there, and I was there, and most of us are going there thinking, how many can we restrict them to? Which is the inevitable thing you have when you've got someone like a goal machine of Erling Haaland as well, and it's City at the Etihad, and to actually start as front-footed as we did. I mean, I'm expecting us to sit back and just soak up the pressure and hope we can counter. But we started on the front foot. I think we just completely bamboozled them, and it was a well-deserved victory. Again, it wasn't lucky. It wasn't, a smash and grab. It was a well-deserved win.
Exactly, and that's why I think so many people have taken to us, because we are having a go. It's a bit like Ian Holloway's Blackpool, but it seems a bit more measured and a bit more. There's a bit more tactical nous to it, it seems, and a bit more structure and defensive. I don't know. We're more solid at the back with it. Anyway, so they were your favourite games of the season. I'm probably going to have to agree with that. Before we look on to Bournemouth, we can't forget about another game against them, which for me was one of my favourite games ever, weirdly. Brentford Bournemouth in the Play Off Semi-Final. We were all there. What are your memories of that day, Marcus? Because it felt a bit different, didn't it? Yeah,
well, we had, just over 4,000 fans coming in, and the place felt like it was at full capacity. And it made me feel like, imagine how this place is when it is full, what noise and atmosphere it's going to create. And then obviously we conceded early on, which wasn't on the script, but what a day it was to come back, the winning goal as we had, the performance. It just had a mixture of everything. It had a lot of drama in there. We had a wall being kicked in, which has now been reinforced, so hopefully that will never happen again. But yeah, it had a bit of everything.
Yeah. It was emotional, wasn't it, Natalie, that day?
Oh, it was actually. You're right. I mean, like you say, I was one of the lucky few that got to be there. There was so much obviously riding on it, being already behind in the tie as such. And yeah, I took my son. I was quite lucky to take my son. I was with my dad and my brother as well, and it was just like you say, the atmosphere was absolutely incredible. I actually remember Adrian Durham, who was working for TalkSport there, and he said he couldn't believe the atmosphere that 4,000 people had generated. And we're kind of all littered around, aren't we? So not like we're all congregated in one place, but it was brilliant. And maybe that's down to obviously Thomas Frank doing that lap of honour beforehand, and then and that kind of has now led to this lap of honour that we always get post-match as well. And yeah, I mean, some of the time wasting from Bournemouth was just infuriating, but it was great that actually it turned out all right for us.
It was incredible. I think everyone had been so starved of that moment with the fans, and I'm going to throw him in it a bit. He's got headphones on here, but Jamie, who works for us, actually cried as he entered the stadium that day. He told me he was that.
Would have been a long time coming.
Exactly, and I think everyone being together, people hadn't seen for a while, and it was a new home, and I think it became our new home that day as well. It was like,
and ever since it's just been so quick for us all to adjust to that being our new home as well.
Well, look, moving on to Saturday's game in front of a full house this time, Marcus. Look, Bournemouth haven't been on the greatest form looking back, 2 wins in 10, but this is the Premier League. We had a tough time at their place early in the year. It's not going to be an easy game, is it, on Saturday?
No easy games. I think the plus point for us is that we're in good form, we're scoring goals, and that's partly Bournemouth's problems as well, is trying to perform well to get the goals. They're not doing that as they would like to. So that, I think, gives us the edge. We're playing at home. We've got a brilliant atmosphere, as we've said already, at the GTEC Arena Stadium. So everything is falling for us. We just have to put that effort in, like we did against Spurs, like we did against West Ham, like we did at home to Liverpool. Put that sort of intensity and that pressure onto the team, and get to where we want to get to, which is a win.
Could this be where it's tricky, Natalie, when you've had such good results against these teams, where I'm not saying it will, but there could be the chance of a bit of complacency?
Yeah, in a way, there could be that drop. I'm sure. I mean, Marcus probably would know better than me when taking on certain teams and where they are in a league, for example. But it is a 5:30 kickoff. It's under the lights. It's one of those games, the fans will be particularly pumped for. And I think you're right. I think make it as uncomfortable as we can for Bournemouth from the off. They've got the worst away record. They've conceded 29 on the road. We've got to just get at them as soon as the whistle goes, and hopefully score as early as we can to make their heads drop. And for us to feel in command of that game. That's how I would say it, but you might know better about the complacency
Our
side.
history with teams that are lower down, particularly in the bottom three, around that area, we tend not to do so well. And I think that was the importance of restarting our league campaign against the likes of a Tottenham, then a West Ham, then a Liverpool. It got your attention, and it's like, hey, we have to turn up. I think we need the same mentality, that same approach when we're facing the Bournemouth, when we're facing the Southamptons, teams like that.
Yeah, well, because I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority. Outside of maybe the top 7, I don't think there's huge differences between everyone else in the league, and I think it's easy for us to say where Bournemouth are now, but we also know few results, it just turns them. I'm not saying they could be above us, but they could be above, I don't know, your Leicesters, your Villas, or someone
really
like that.
tight down there.
You don't know.
It's really tight. It's only a couple of points really between the relegation zone and I'd say up to about 14, 15. No, maybe about 15, let's say. So yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, you need a little run of games, winning games, and you pull yourself clear of the danger zone. So yeah, I totally.
And I guess they'll be looking at us as one of those teams that they could get a result from as well.
I think teams will look at us differently now.
Do you think now?
Yeah, from what we've started this season with, the amount of points, the style of play that we've got, the wins that we've had against people, I think people will respect us a lot more to think, no, Brentford are not a pushover. There's no soft sort of underbelly this season. There's more of a toughness and a ruthless streak, especially up top.
And we've got a bench that is impactful as well.
Well, Jamie's wrapping me up. We haven't had a chance to talk about Kevin Schade yet.
No.
His cameo off the bench. Quickly, how impressed were you with it?
I'm just can't wait to see him really.
Or would you be tempted now to start him on Saturday?
I don't know if I'd start him. I think I'd still ease him in. But that moment when he looked to get past Craig Dawson, the only thing Dawson could do was just foul him to bring him to stop him. You just thought, oh, this is going to be
fun, isn't it? It's going to be fun. Right, well, let us know what you think. Should Kevin Schade get his first start for the club on Saturday? Score predictions down below. It's been great catching up with you guys again. And I hope you guys have enjoyed us being back. Company B's, another 3 points on Saturday. You Reds! Kevin, welcome to Brentford.
Thank you.
How does it feel to be a Brentford player?
Yeah, finally I'm very excited to sign for Brentford. I want to play Premier League, was my